No, no, I know, right? Oh. Okay, are we all set?
Hello, hello, hello. And Dan, the little pony.
Hey, Tavis, the light is on, is that okay?
Yeah, the light's on. It's all plugged in down here. I don't.
Okay. Okay. Okay, well, I'll talk loud then, right? Okay. Okay, all right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Planning Board meeting of September 6, 2022. The first item on the agenda is to introduce the Planning Board members. To my left, Mike Cotter, who is the Vice Chairman. Next to Mike Von Dugan, then Peter Goodwin, Doug Bressner, John Thurston, Brad Harriman, who is the representative from the Board of Selectmen, and Julie Jacobs, who is an alternate. The first item on the public hearing agenda is the Holland Revocable Trust of 2016. This is at 419 and 423 Beach Pond Road, tax map 82-4 and 5, case 2022-09. This is a boundary line adjustment for 2 lots.
Have to project
Hi, Randy. Okay, could you just go through the waivers quickly? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, and questions, Peter?
The owner of the land between these two lots and the road? Town.
But it does meet the frontage requirement, yes, okay.
Both lots have shared access by deed across that drive. Okay. Would you like a motion?
To accept the waivers, yes,
Be happy
please.
to move that the board accept waivers to 174-7D 4, 5, and 6.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, any other questions from the board members?
Motion for completion.
Okay.
Just one question.
Oh,
Does the current house meet side setbacks? Does the current house meet side setback?
Yes.
Yeah. So in both cases?
Motion for
Okay,
completion.
yep,
Happy to move that this application is complete.
okay, and
Seconded.
second that. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'll open the public hearing on this item. If there's any member of the public that wants to speak to this issue, why don't you come on up to the microphone? Okay, all right. Tavis, do you have any conditions for this?
I just have some recommended conditions of approval. Standard applicant being responsible for recording fees, and the second being applicant to submit copies of the revised deeds for the resulting lots prior to their being recorded at the applicant's expense.
Oh. Are you all set? Oh, okay. All right, no, I need to close the public hearing, and I'll now consider a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay. Motion has been made. I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, this application meets the form factor. It meets the lot area for the zone. All of the setbacks have been considered. We've determined that the waivers, there's no real need for them, so there's, and that was gone over and explained by the applicant. Also, there's an easement that is recorded, I think. Yeah, a right to pass. Okay, all right, so those are my comments. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Randy, we're all set. Yeah, yeah, thank you. We certainly will.
Do we want to take a minute? I can try and turn off all the air conditioning units, make it a little quieter. I mean, you can keep going, but.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, Libby Mill LLC, Graham Coombs, 36 Mill Street, tax map and lot 217-27, case 2022-10. This is for site plan approval for outdoor seating. Is the applicant here?
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
My name's Graham Combs, and I'm the owner of Lone Wolf Brewing Company.
Okay, and you have to speak up a little
sorry.
because there's no,
Also, could you make sure that microphone's on?
no, that's,
No, but the microphone I want to be on so that it's onto the internet, even though we can't hear it.
It's on.
Okay.
Okay, my name's Graham Combs. I'm the owner of the Lone Wolf Brewing Company, and I'm just here to modify the already approved site plan to include the expanded outdoor seating that was added during the COVID provisions.
okay, did you, were there waivers that you were requesting?
Yep, there's a list of waivers here. I don't know, I assume you have the printed out copy, but do you want me to read them all off? or-
Yeah, yes, you
Yeah.
really,
Yep.
you do have to.
Just requesting waivers to the following application submission requirements. 173-15E, plans are submitted on 11 by 17 and 8.5 by 11, not 24 by 36, as E1 and 4, all bounds clearly indicated on the ground. There are no structures proposed. 173-16 through 18, requesting waiver of performance surety as entire request is the planned use of the area and no construction proposed. 173-20, as no changes to street access are proposed. 173-21, as the seating area is already paved, there will be no changes to stormwater patterns or quantities with this project. 173-22, there will be no change to existing water supply source, town water. 173-23, there will be no change to existing sewer connection, which is town sewer. 173-24, all utility connections are in place already and there are no changes proposed. 173-25, there are no new signs proposed for the site, and any new signs will comply with sign regulations. 175-26, there are no natural features or amenities on this property, and none will be impacted by the project. 175-27.1, no bicycle facilities currently exist or are proposed with the project. 173-27.2, no new exterior lighting is proposed with the project, and should lights be added in the future, all fixtures will be dark sky compliant as required by town regulations. And 173-27.3 through 27.7, requested as seating area already separated from the streetscape with ornamental fence and plantings, and as proposed use is complementary to pedestrians and street traffic. And then 175-138, alternative parking plan. The site is adjacent to town parking along Mill Street.
And I think we made that finding when we approved the application before.
Right, the original.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's it.
Okay, questions for the applicant?
So I would like you to describe the parking that used to be in the location of the current seating area and how many spaces are on the other side, the Libby Street side?
So originally it was 3 spots and a handicapped place. And then there was, on the other side of the road, are the same, it's 3 town spots and 1 handicap spot.
And that remains.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Go ahead, John.
So I have a question about 173-27-2. No new exterior lighting is proposed with this project. Should lights be added in the future, all fixtures will be dark sky compliant as required by the town regulations. Do you know we have a dark sky compliant, fully shielded cutoff lighting, and after 11 o'clock, they would be off if they're not fully shielded?
Okay.
Okay, and any other questions or comments? Go ahead, go ahead, Peter.
Before the COVID issue and then started having outdoor dining,
Yes.
that was a change in things, and I think that people made exceptions to some things. Before that time, noise didn't particularly escape from that area. Now noise can escape from that area, and it looks like this is trying to put it in a permanent way. How do you end up dealing with that?
I'm not sure. How do you mean?
Well, do you have hours when there can be loud music, hours when there can be whatever going on out there?
We have had live music outdoors during the summer months. We can always keep those to the town hours, the quiet hours. You know, we can always adjust to where it's not beyond any regulations. That's
If you're following the town regulations, that's probably fine.
right.
But it is a change from what was happening in that space, and now you're making it permanent.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Couple of questions. Is the outdoor seating going to be permanent, or is it seasonal?
It's obviously we don't use it in the winter for
three
outdoor seating. It's able to be broken down. It's not like a permanently installed.
Tables and chairs in the wintertime will be removed from the site?
Yes, but the flower boxes and the embankment remains.
How are you going to handle snow removal?
We've just been shoveling it the past 2 winters.
Do you have any plans for a pergola?
No.
No plans for a pergola. Do you have a copy of your original planning board authorization for this use? Because if you looked in there, you might find the hours of operation and hours for noise. for
Okay.
particularly bands. I would urge you to go back and look at that and follow those requirements
Okay.
to be good neighbors. I would also urge you to get a copy of the town regulation 173-27.2 that Mr. Thurston referenced earlier, so that you know exactly what kind of lights are allowed
Okay.
and how they are to be operated, just so that you are on the same page that we are all.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right, the waivers, how do people feel about the waivers? You want to grant them or not grant them?
I'll be happy to move to approve the waivers as applied for and listed on the first page, I guess, of this project summary narrative.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Now that the waivers have been granted, this application is considered complete. So how does the board want? I now need to open the public hearing. So if somebody would make a motion to. Okay, motion has been made. I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, all right, public hearing is now open, so any member of the public that wants to address us, please come on up.
Good evening. I'm Bill Swafield. I own an adjacent property to Lone Wolf, the Kingswood Press, and the red building up the street from the Kingswood Press, which faces Libby Street. Just wanted to say a few things. When Lone Wolf first went in 2017, I believe, I was aware that there were going to be some adjustments to be made on Pleasant Street because of the type of business that was going to be, including things that did come true, such as delivery trucks parking in front of the press front door occasionally. I can tolerate that. I don't have a problem with that. I'm living with that. It's okay. Other things such as the pub patrons monopolizing the 3 spaces across the street, town parking, I can live with that. I'm not complaining about that. It's okay. Trash, occasional trash left on Mill Street particularly, and sometimes on my front steps at the Kingswood Press. Again, it happens with that type of establishment next door. I'm not complaining about that. Dogs peeing on the side lawn next to the press, next to their parking lot. Luckily, there's not too much poop, so I'm not complaining about that. Since the parking on the parking lot has, since the additional seating in the parking lot has happened, there's been a lot more activity outside naturally, including small kids, children playing on that side lawn, jumping off Lone Wolf's little embankment, and playing on our property. Again, I could be freaked out about liability, but I'm really not. So I don't really have a problem with Lone Wolf having their seating outside, as long as they can take it down in the winter and use those spaces for parking in the winter. I think that should be made a condition to the approval. No point in having flower beds out there and empty seats out there when it's in the middle of the winter. But I do have a couple of things that I don't want to tolerate, and I can't tolerate. And those are the things that were brought up at the June 20th, 2017 meeting right here, and some of you were there. And I want to give you a copy of that right now and go over it. Under the yellow markings that I want to quickly discuss.
Thank you.
And that's the problem I have. At this meeting, these things were talked over and basically agreed to and proposed by Lone Wolf. And I want to just start at the top where I've highlighted. Board member Von Dugan asked how noise would be addressed with regard to outdoor seating. Kurt DeWilder, who is the attorney, stated that the town's noise ordinance would dictate such, noting the abutters are entitled to quiet enjoyment of their property. He stated the property is located in the C1 district where residential and commercial uses are mixed. And as most of you know, Libby Street, which is the back side of his property, is pretty much residential. Mike Hodder, board member, questioned the hours of operation. Grant Combs replied yes, excuse me, yeah, I'm sorry, Kurt de Wilder replied 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. They go to 11 o'clock routinely unless someone is called, the police is called to ask them to stop. Happens all summer. Again, Kurt de Wilder, his attorney, gave us the hours, gave you the hours, and I took this to be what was going to happen. But it hasn't. What are we supposed to do? Mike Cotter questioned whether there would be music at the establishment. Grant Combs replied yes and noted such would be mainly non-amplified acoustic music. It's not happening. They now have, with the 85-seat, whatever it is, not 85 seats, the parking lot places for partying, basically what it is, they're having outdoor music outside, right next to the side door, and they go on as long as they can without someone calling to complain. As a matter of fact, last Saturday night, they had some firecrackers went off down there. It's not a fun place to be. It's not a great neighborhood. And I hate to say it, but Mr. Combs and his group are not great neighbors right now. We'd like to go down there and have a beer, but I really don't feel like it. Mike Cotter questioned whether the music would be confined within the building. Grant Combs replied yes. Well, I don't know what you're...
Yeah, Mr. Swarfield. Mr. Swarfield?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they haven't gone by the rules that they set up. They set these parameters up right there in black and white. So I would like to have the board put the conditions, put these conditions into the approval. The 11 to 10, and then, no outside music, and mainly non-amplified music. I played in a band in Wolfeboro for 15 or 20 years, and we played at venues that were big enough to hold our band, such as the Cider Press, Wolfeboro Inn, Bittersweet, Wind Drifter, O's Bistro, and the only place we ever played was outdoors at Cade Park. And I don't know of many towns that have rock and roll bands playing outside in their parking lots all over town. Anywhere you have a outdoor seating, such as I got a list of a dozen outdoor places that could probably do that right now, if they wanted to. Do we have any noise ordinances other than our noise ordinance for bands playing outside right now? Kathy?
I don't think so.
Michael, do you know? I'd like to know the answer to that.
I think I suggest that we confine.
Right. The
Yeah,
reason I'm
right,
bringing this all
yes.
up is because
Yeah.
if this is new permanent seating out there, this is going to be a constant problem unless they go by the parameters that they set up themselves. This is when this started all happening, the outdoor stuff with the music and the noise, was when they brought in the outdoor seating during COVID. Before that, it wasn't bad. Again, I like music. I'm a percussionist. I don't mind drums. I don't mind bass guitar. I don't mind electric guitars, but they got to be in the right spot. Okay? That's pretty much all I had to say, except I do have one other concern. It's about being a good neighbor. People have called down there to ask them to quiet the music down. They've been told, sorry, we're running a business here. The Wolfeboro Police Department has been called after hours, after 10 p.m., to ask them to go down and have them shut their music down. My tenant, who happens to be my son, in the red building right above the press, has gotten calls after he's done that by anonymous patrons, apparently, saying, stop calling the cops about Lone Wolf. I don't call that being a good neighbor. In fact, Mr. Combs' wife also called the police one night after my son had called down there to ask them to tone it down, saying that the Lone Wolf was being harassed. if asking them to go by the hours that they set themselves is being harassed, and calling about it and asking them to go toe the mark, if that's being harassed, then he's guilty. So I really don't mind them seating outside. I don't mind them having permanent seating out there, really, as long as they take it down in the winter and go by the parameters that they set up and that you have in front of you right now. And I'd like those to be added to the conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Fred Fernald, 24 Libby Street. My wife Helen and I have lived on Libby Street since 1989, when 24 Libby Street was 8 Libby Street. And we were opposed to formalizing the temporary arrangement established under the COVID protocols, especially if this formalization includes continuation of music nights as they now exist. I support what Bill Swaffield has just said to you, and from personal experience, I can tell you that the music rarely ends before 10:30. Once after 11 o'clock, my wife did call the police, and the music ceased shortly thereafter, whether because the police visited or the band ran out of songs. I don't know. And if the music has ever been non-amplified acoustic, we haven't heard it. Would it be appropriate for me to hit a few points from the noise ordinance?
Okay, go ahead.
I think the reference is 100-5B. It shall be unlawful for any person to make or cause to be made any loud or unreasonable noise when it disturbs the peace of another. And C1, this shall include the use or operation of any musical instrument, it just says instrument singular, for the production of sound in such a manner as to disturb the peace, the quiet, or the comfort of the public, or in such a manner as to be clearly audible through walls between units within the range of the same building, comma, from another property or the street. At first, when the outdoor formulation, when the arrangement started, we thought, okay, it's temporary, and we both bought noise-canceling headphones, which were not completely effective since the amplified music was so highly amplified. This may help you understand why we're opposed to this formalization unless there is some mitigation of the noise situation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Derek Brown, 30 Libby Street. My mom and I have been in that house since 1965. We're directly across the rear of the building itself. Since April, I've been spending every weekend up in Wolfeboro. I live in Massachusetts, but this is my home. Taking care of my mom because she's been ill in and out of the hospitals. So I've been witness to the noise versus the occasional weekend, and it is true. I'll also like to point out, because I was at the 2017 meeting when this was proposed and accepted, and with some reluctance, you know, it is a small business. Small business is a good thing. Many of the concerns that were addressed in this minutes by many individuals in this room, I would like to say I don't know if they've actually been followed up upon. Has there been studies done per the request to the Board of Selectmen for the signage, for the safety issues, for the ADA compliance? These have all been referenced in these minutes by people in this room. And I'd like to see that something like that does get addressed, because anybody that lives in this town knows how dangerous Mill Street is. And increasing any activity on that corner warrants safety, thoroughly looked at. Okay, and that doesn't mean move into the back of Libby Street. There's no room there. And I will say, as one that clears those driveways on 30 Libby Street in the wintertime, The lower driveway is a problem when the tenants of that building do anything but park at a steep angle. They're in the road, and there's no room for snow and no room for vehicles. Okay, so this is a multi-tiered challenge here, let alone increasing the outdoor activity with the sound they're speaking of. They're not exaggerating. I support them 100% on this. And I really say, I know the town went to great lengths with a lot of small businesses during this COVID challenge to try to keep them going. That does not give small business a buy to just keep going with what was a temporary condition to keep the businesses going. And I would suggest that be strongly considered as a temporary fix for the COVID situation and reset and follow the guidelines as agreed to by the business owner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan John, 40 Mill Street. I own the building on the corner, the other side. I'm not there in the evening, so the music doesn't bother me, but I can understand from some of the neighbors that it's quite loud and frequent. My major concern is the traffic on the corner. I call that the Le Mans corner of Wolfeboro. The traffic comes whipping around that corner. The visibility is terrible, and it's become a little bit worse since there's more traffic going to the restaurant. There's also a concern about parking. Many of us don't have a lot of parking around the buildings there, and we depend on using those public parking places as well. They're full most of the time during the business hours of the restaurant. It's very difficult for our clients to find a place to park, especially elderly people that have a difficult time crossing the road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, board members?
I'd like to hear from the applicant, if I may.
Yep.
Okay, I'll try and address all of those different points. I might go in reverse order if that works for you. As far as traffic around the corner, I agree, people do whip around that corner. If anything, I think that over the past couple of years, hopefully they've slowed down a little bit, and I think that cars backing out of a parking lot are probably more of a concern than foot traffic. So I'm not sure how the additional outdoor seating would affect the traffic around the corner. As far as the plowing on Libby Street, that is the residential tenants of the building. It doesn't actually affect our business. It's just the 3 spots that are facing Mill Street. And to address, obviously, Bill, there's nothing personal about this.
Yeah, turn around, please. Thank you.
Nothing malicious in us having entertainment outdoors, and I'm not intentionally trying to break the original agreements of the decision. Obviously, we had to adjust in 2020. We couldn't operate as this is laid out, and we have adjusted in order to keep the business open. I have no problem.
So you no longer have outdoor music, is that what you're saying?
It's only during the summers. I have no problem limiting the outdoor music to the town quiet hours and following the town parameters.
Well, and what about within the building? That's what you said that you would do.
We do music indoors still. I would love to continue it outdoors. In the last 18 months, we've had mentions in Travel and Leisure magazine, Boston magazine. I do think that the outdoor seating and the beer garden is a good thing, not just for us and our business, but also for the town and tourism. And I think that if the noise is kept to within town hours, I don't see why it should be a
But you
concern.
also said that this was non-amplified music.
Right.
That's
I mean,
that's
can
what
we
you
go
said.
through and adjust that? That is what I said in 2017.
Yes.
Here and today, even if an acoustic act comes, that's still amplified music. In a public setting, non-amplified music just doesn't really exist. So I would love to go back and, we can address some of the things that were originally laid out in 2017 if we need to dig deeper into this.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to? Mike asked you if you.
Well, if I may.
Yeah, right.
Since I'm the individual who set up the original
Mm-hmm.
music and noise requirements, which you did not adhere to. COVID or not COVID, you did not adhere to. I'm being corrected?
I was just going to bring up a point. There is discussion that's highlighted in yellow for you, but if you turn to page 7, the actual conditions of approval did not so stipulate non-amplified indoor music. There was no prohibition on outdoor music at all. So they were talked about, but if the board wants, this is going to sound potentially like splitting hairs to some. There was discussion and representation at the meeting, but there was nothing required of the applicant for.
That's really rather irrelevant, Tavis.
No, but there's
all respect to the plan.
There's pages of discussion.
When the applicant testifies X, Y, and Z.
I'm not saying you're going down a bad path.
No, but that is what we expected.
That is
When
what you
people
expect.
testify in here in front of us.
Otherwise, why bother having?
Yeah.
Agreed. There are pages of discussion on ADA and spots and snow and all sorts of things.
Yes.
None were actually formalized into conditions.
Except that in this case, you have a question and an answer.
Correct.
The answer came from the applicant, and in my opinion, the applicant's answer binds the applicant.
Right.
Whether it's conditional part of the approval or not, he's bound by his answer. If nothing else, as a good neighbor,
Correct.
To me, and I'll speak, this is personal, and I apologize to the board if I inject personal, but if I hear that neighbors have to buy noise-canceling headphones to sit in their living rooms because another neighbor is blasting out rock and roll at 10 o'clock at night, that's a problem. And that's a problem that needs to be addressed.
Okay, and I totally agree. The neighbors and the planning board sat here and listened to this back in 17, and that's what we expected, and that's what the neighbors expected.
My point was just to make it very clear, if the board is going to take action on this
We-
tonight,
we
need to
will.
make a condition.
And I think that it is important, and perhaps in some ways, making sure it's codified, as in the way that we allow this to go on. Otherwise, the next owner of this would not know what had been said at the hearing. And so
Clearly, this current applicant
correct,
doesn't
but
remember what we said at the hearing either.
correct. But at the same time, we need to make sure it's there forever rather than just for this particular owner.
Agreed. It's unfortunate that you have to go and make it a condition of approval when you ordinarily expect some guy says yes, and that's all you really need. And in this case, that's not what was granted.
Okay,
So I would
okay,
make some conditions.
Julie?
Ten is where the noise ordinance stops.
Yeah, right.
Noise has to stop at 10.
And that,
Those were the hours
those,
that we proposed.
right. And those are the hours in the noise ordinance, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what everybody is supposed to comply with.
So you can see the quandary. As one of the butters testified, small business is a good thing. Don't want to do anything that's going to make your business shrink or wither away and die. But on the other hand, you've got to live in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is mixed. So I would like to hear what you propose. You have a problem with amplified rock and roll guitars, committed to acoustic, non-amplified indoors. What are your proposals?
I would propose to abide by the 10 p.m. noise ordinance. I think that to limit the genre of music is beyond the scope of a planning board. I think that that's part of running the business. So while in 2017,
But we do
in conversation,
we do concern ourselves with when people come here and say that you're not being a good neighbor.
Okay.
And that is
I also think
tremendous
if anybody
concern.
had any concerns with my ability to be a good neighbor, a conversation goes a long way. A phone call to the police before trying to address something face to face is. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I have never had a conversation with either of any of my neighbors about these concerns.
Okay.
And,
All right. Well, you've heard.
If this is about being a good
okay,
neighbor, then
you've heard what the concerns are. How do you plan to address them?
I would address them by abiding by the 10 p.m. noise ordinance. I could even do music from 7 to 9 only. That way it gives us an hour window to make sure that the bands are wrapped up if they're going beyond a scheduled
Okay, and previously you said the music would be confined inside the building. Are you willing to live with that?
I would like to, with the addition of the outdoor seating, have the ability to have outdoor music as well.
Could you live with outdoor music summer hours only?
That's fine. As in Memorial Day to Labor Day?
No other time,
Yeah.
Until 10 p.m.
from 7 until 9.
7 until 9.
7.
Okay. So, all right.
Amplified guitars, Memorial Day to Labor Day only.
I would agree to that.
Okay. Anything else that you want to?
No, I can also move if you want me to move the partition and remove the seating for winter snow removal. I have no problem doing that either.
If all the music was inside, I am sure that some of that music is going to escape to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest that if you have relatively loud music on the outside, then everybody who is trying to hold a conversation has to raise their voice. Most likely, if the music is all inside, they're going to be able to carry on a conversation without having to raise their voice. So I would suggest that having all the music inside would solve some of these problems and therefore not really cause real trouble out in the patio where people are trying to enjoy the evening and having a nice time.
I would argue that if you're concerned about the guests being able to converse, if all of the music is indoors, it makes it difficult for anyone inside to hear each other.
Turn down the volume.
Where are the bands set up, outside or inside?
To the left of our entrance.
Is there any room inside for a band to set up inside if music was prohibited and required only inside?
There is. We set up both indoors and outdoors, depending on the weather.
Other issues?
Yeah, one other question unrelated to music. You'd mentioned earlier this evening that the planters would remain in place in the winter. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'm flexible. I can move those.
The reason I ask is because, again, reading from the June 20th, 2017 minutes, you had mentioned that the planter boxes would be removed for snow storage. So I'm just wondering why that changed.
In the original location of the planter boxes, there was no reason to remove them for snow storage. I remember in the 2017 meeting, there seemed to be a lot of concern about where the snow would go. We've never had an issue with it. So before we moved them further out into the parking lot, we never moved the planter boxes in the first place. We stored the snow next to them. So therefore, I just never adjusted.
I think the real issue we have here is the noise. That's what we've heard from the that we should address.
Mike, I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure that we were thorough.
And I'd suggest that it was just stated that when it's inclement weather, the bands play inside, and I would just say that if they played always inside, it would probably be okay. That would be my opinion.
Okay,
I would, the guy's got a business model he's running. Now all of a sudden he's being told he's got to modify the business model. I don't want to make them modify it to the point where it might not work anymore. So I think it, limit the hours to 7 to 9, that's a concession. Limit the time from Memorial to Labor Day, that's a concession. That, I think, would be fair enough for me. And let the music be outside.
So one of the issues especially is enforcement. It's always an issue. And, you know, if the police can't get anything done, because I'm not really sure why there are no fines, there's no enforcement slap, I guess, then we should be prepared for them not to comply, because we have no real enforcement. And it especially concerns me if people are being threatened
yes,
when they report things. That's really disturbing.
right.
So to address that, the night that my wife called the police was because the noise complaints had started before 8 p.m. I understand if it goes past 10 p.m., the complaints come and, you know, that's one thing. But 2 hours plus before the town noise ordinance goes into effect to start calling, and he was actually making threats against us, saying that he was going to get our business shut down. At that point, she called and she said, and she didn't know that it was Bill's son at that point. She said, someone just called and they're threatening, and that is why my wife got the police involved. When they went to knock on Willie's door, he didn't answer. It was
Not any of our concern. That's
okay.
between you and your neighbor. And the fact that that has arisen shows you that there is a problem in the way you have been running your business, and it needs to be addressed. So I have some conditions I'd like to propose if we go for this.
So when it says non-amplified, does that not get the job done?
No, it doesn't. An acoustic guitar even in a room with people talking, it quickly fades away. You can't hear it. So even someone playing an acoustic set is bringing an amplifier and a microphone.
So why would you have agreed to that initially?
I guess I had a lot less experience 5 years ago.
Okay, all right, I'm concerned because we need to wrap this up. And we can either continue it or close the public hearing. Well, okay, but, okay, well, come on up then, please.
For the sake of clarity, again, Derek Brown, 30 Libby Street. For people that aren't intimately familiar with that layout of that building and where 30 Libby Street is, between the apartment building that's the horizontal, I think it's 3 or 4 units to one side where the decking is, in the backside, which is the parking lot of the microbrewer, and the separate large building where the restaurant is established in the basement or the first floor. The separation between those two buildings, which, if I understand this correctly, to the left side of the entrance of the restaurant is where the band would play. That is the straight shot to my mom's bedroom windows. Okay, that's where it comes through and starts echoing up the street. So the idea of the outdoor music is certainly not exciting, but we understand whatever this board does, we have to respect.
Okay, and thank you. Okay, I really feel as if we need to continue this public hearing, And so,
Yes.
okay,
That was a,
Move to continue.
okay. Until when? The 15th, or our next meeting? Which is
the 20th.
the 20th. Okay, I'd make a motion to continue this until the 20th, the public hearing. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you very much, folks. We're going to have to continue this because we have to go on to another item now. So anyway,
Madam,
thank you all for coming.
Class 6? Can we do the Class 6?
Oh,
Class 6 quickly?
yeah, okay.
That's easy.
All right. Okay, Class 6 road waiver comments.
None from this board member.
Okay, everybody have a chance to look at this?
As the person on the master plan associated with Natural Resources Group, there was the suggestion and statement that no more development should occur on Class 6 roads. And there may be exceptions, there have been exceptions, but at least this is the stated plan or stated in the master plan.
Okay, thank you. Tavis, did you want to briefly say anything about this?
Very, very briefly, this is a section of Upper Trask Mountain Road. The road itself has already been approved or been improved with a previous Class 6 waiver. This is a lot immediately adjacent to that.
Okay. Okay.
Really, beyond this point, there is no road. So that would, to me, satisfy the master plan, but.
Thank you.
So any comments the board has, I will get to the selectmen.
Okay, any other? Oh, okay, Mike, you want to make a motion?
Sure, be happy to move. What am I moving? The board made one comment from Peter Cook regarding the master plan.
Peter Goodwin.
I'm sorry, Peter Goodwin. That there should be no further development on Class 6 roads. No other member of the board has comments to convey to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, so I'll second that so that we can send this on to the Board of Selectmen. All in favor of these comments?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
I'm going to abstain.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Kathy, I'm going to abstain because
This meeting is adjourned. And now we will start the next one. Yeah, okay, motion has been made, second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Right.
Kathy?
Okay,
Kathy,
yes.
before we start, you can't hear anything you guys are saying because you're not using the
I know that.